thank you so much for joining me. I know
Of
it was
course.
short notice, but I have to say, all the people I'm inviting to this show, they're people whose work I've been following for a while, and I'm a big fan of their drawing. So you're no
Oh,
different.
thank you.
I loved
Thank you. Thanks a
seeing
lot.
your work and your drawings. Um, there's a special aspect to your drawings that I love the most, in that it's all hand drawn, obviously hand drawn on
Hmm.
Procreate digitally.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's the generation we're part of now. But no
Hmm.
doubt you're still using these traditional sketch aesthetics with your illustrations, and that's so it's so raw for me to see. And I think there's a
Hmm.
lot people can learn from you, especially because you have a large audience as well. But before we get into the drawings, tell us a little bit, very briefly, about your background, your education, your architectural kind of experience.
Yeah. So I've graduated in 2007 from Damascus University in Syria, and since then I've been working as an architect, especially design architect. I worked in Dubai for almost 8 years, and then I relocated here to the United States for the last 5 years. So I had the chance to work on different kind of buildings, from residential to high rise to even schools and public safety buildings. The thing is, it's working on different kind of buildings. It's what I think give me the edge to maybe to expand my working knowledge on my sketching. So it's all this experience actually really affected my sketching and my drawing. But I think even if you don't have that experience working from the beginning, from wherever you are a student, and improving your skills is the most important thing you can do as an architect, because these skills really can represent your ideas, and slowly but surely it can give you a style and can give impressions to other people. So I guess what I want to say in the end is you have to work hard and practice if you want to get somewhere. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think you hit the nail on the head there, especially because the viewers and the audience who will probably be watching this will be young professionals and students who are trying to explore their kind of their techniques, their styles, their own personal kind of drawing identity in a way. It's a strange thing to say
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
it's a contentious topic to say, you should have a style or you should have an aesthetic. But what I'm discovering is people naturally just find what interests them most, and then the style is naturally kind of it comes about. So I think what you say is definitely true, and your style is very distinct. And I'm really looking forward to kind of getting into your drawings and showing people how you create what you create. But before we get into that quickly again, when did you actually start your Instagram page, and when did it start to get loads of attention? Because how many followers are you on now?
Almost at 85K.
85,000. Wow.
Yeah, I started it. I guess this is actually my personal Instagram page, and it's then turned into my almost, you can say, portfolio Instagram page. So the way it started, actually, I was in, I think in 2018 I started sharing some of my work, but it was only like something I designed and rendered, like 3D renderings. It's like it was my concept designs. I was sharing them on Instagram, and then all of it was like a very happy coincidence, let's say. It started with my wife. She was interested in this digital art, and she's an architect actually. So she was interested in it, and then she got an iPad and started working on Procreate. So from that, I noticed the software, and I started just doodling around with it. And one time I made a sketch, and I will share that later when I show you the presentation. So I made that sketch, and she was like, okay, share it on Instagram. I was like, no, I don't like it. But she said, no, it's good, you should share it. It happened to, I just put it on Instagram, and I didn't think much of it. And next day I was like, oh my God, it was like 1,000 like or something like that. And I was like, really? I mean, I didn't think much of it anyway, like at all when I was doing it. But it opened my eyes to the possibility that maybe this kind of thing is interesting to other people. So I started sketching, and it's all started from there. So now it's like almost 2 years since that happened. Yeah.
That's amazing. I think we could probably do a whole episode just on, how to have a successful Instagram account as an illustrator.
Ah, yeah. Of course. Yeah.
But I think the main focus for today will be just to kind of get the behind the scenes kind of
Hmm.
insight into your drawings, because I'm sure your audience would love to kind of know what is the kind of precursor to achieving the style and the quality of your drawing. So, um, could you share your presentation?
Okay.
Yes, so let's go through some of your sketching and kind of like the preliminary ideas that you have and the kind of concepts that you have to develop such amazing drawings.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So let's start with this one. So this is what I was saying. Like, this is the first sketch. I mean, that I shared on Instagram. When I see it right now, I see like how bad it is. But I guess at the moment it was good enough. I guess. So I was just doodling, like I said, and I came up with this. But then after 6 months, I have redraw this. So it was turned into this. So I guess
Wow.
what I want to say is a difference in practice. So when you practice, it's all in how much time and effort you put into something. And I want to emphasize on this because a lot of people just keep messaging me and asking me how can I get good and how can I improve my sketching and all this stuff, and can you teach me or can you tell me, or I can only say one thing all the time, like you have to practice. You have to start practicing on whatever you want to do, even if it wasn't sketching, anything like starting to learn about a software or any kind of thing you want to improve in. Practicing may make the whole difference. And this is another one, also from my first sketches, and it was one of the popular ones. And also I resketched that a year later, and this was the first. So I'm showing you the behind the scenes. So
This is what I love. I'd love to see these kind of very, very rough first sketches.
yeah. So this is what I usually start with. I usually start with a very very rough sketch. I really don't care about having a line or it could be 10 lines. I don't care. It's just I want to see the volume. I want to see the form. I want to see the general shape at first. So this is what I start with, and then I can turn it to something like that, right? So the the process is easy if you focus on the steps. So I'm gonna show you a project where I show the exact steps. Okay, let's say this one. So this one I'm showing first at like 10 minutes, 1 hour, 3 hours. So this is how much time usually it takes me. So the rough sketch usually takes 10 minutes, but that only if I know what I'm doing. Sometimes it takes much more just because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just doodling around until I get something. But usually, if I know what I'm doing, it takes around 10 minutes. And then the next step is to get from that to the actual sketch where I ink over it, and then to the coloring and the effect. So start with this one, the rough sketch, then inking over it, then adding the shadows, then adding the colors and effects.
Wow.
So,
Can we go through that again? Because I want to talk
okay.
about each stage, if that's okay. So in this stage, where does this inspiration come from, this image? Is this just kind of something in your head? Is it from a photograph?
No, yeah, this is something from my head. So I sketch the preliminary sketch, the rough sketch on a paper. So usually whenever I'm sitting working or anything, and I'm in a block or something, I have a notepad next to me and I keep sketching stuff. So usually this is where most of my ideas come from. So I sketch ideas all the time just because if you have something in your head, you have to get it out on paper, and if you don't do that, usually it goes away, right?
Right.
So this is what also one advice I can give all the audiences, to always keep some kind of a sketch pad or a notepad or whatever you want next to you. And even if you are working, you can always find 2 minutes to sketch something in your head if you have something in your head, and you can always come back to these ideas later and
Yeah.
improve them and sketch over them. So in this case, I guess I was just like thinking of, I want to have two skyscrapers or two high-rise building, connected together in some form.
Yeah.
So it started like this, and from those two volumes and the connection, I was able to to fill the rest. So usually it starts with something simple, like a simple idea. I want to do that, or I want to maybe I have a form in my head. I want to just do a rough sketch of it, and then I can see if it has potential or not. So
Yeah.
in this case, I guess it did.
So in the next stage, you've started now to add another layer on, and you're just starting to refine the lines here.
Exactly. So I add another layer. I start to refine the lines. I add the openings. I add all the the detail lines, and the background and the foreground, and this is the process. Is actually the preliminary sketch. You can do it at least maybe 2 or 3 times before you get to this stage, because you can do some adjustments. Sometimes some forms I don't like, I adjust them. So sketching, it's like layer upon layer upon layer of sketching until I reach this one. So this one is the final rough sketch, but maybe before that there was 2 or 3 of them just similar to this, but maybe just a little bit different.
And do you use the perspective assistance on Procreate?
Yeah. So usually, if I'm gonna use the perspective assistant, usually I do it second stage. Like at first, like in this case,
Yeah.
this has no assistance, right? This is just me sketching, and then I try to match the Procreate perspective assistance points to these to this one points, right? So, but in this case, I think I remember I just used it right away, just because I knew what I'm going to do, because the assistant is good, but sometimes it's also it's like a handcuff, because if you use it, you have to do straight lines, right?
Yeah.
It depends on the sketch. So if your sketch is straightforward, like this one, I guess it's good to start from the beginning with the assistant, just because it gives you the exact location of each vanishing point, and it's much easier. But sometimes it's also can limit you with your sketches. So I only use it when I think or feel that I'm not gonna extend more than this kind of sketch, right? I'm not gonna have any curves. I'm not gonna have any maybe angled line or something like this that is not perpendicular on the form.
So in the third stage, you've started to introduce shading. Now, this, I imagine, look, I think I'm going to be honest with you. I think the shading is one of the most powerful aspects of not just your drawings, but just generally when you can add shade effectively to any illustration, it suddenly gives it so much more depth and makes it such a more legible drawing. How do you get the shadow to be so accurate?
Yeah, so this something has to do with your experience, what they call the experienced eye. So from working on 3D models a lot of the time, you always notice how the shadows affect your it's something that you learn gradually, just because you are practicing your eye on seeing how forms interact and how they drop shadows and cast shadows on other surfaces. So I guess one thing is something you have to just practice your eye into it. Just keep looking at the shadows wherever whether you are looking at finished projects or you are looking at sketches or whatever. If you keep looking at shadows and how they affect and how they are cast, and learn the basic principle of casting shadows, this is the stage that you will reach if you keep practicing your eye, if you
And
can say.
this is just like a filled tool, kind of filled region multiplied on
Yeah,
top, right?
exactly. Yeah. It's another layer. Usually, there is the main lines. They are always in one layer, like the building line, and then there's the detail lines. I put them in another layer, and then the shadows always put them in another layer. Sometimes you might need 2 or 3 layers for shadows, just because you have maybe tones of shadows. So the shadow underneath the massing that is connecting the two towers is more, it's darker than the shadow is casted on the building, because
Yeah.
just because it's the tone of it, it's darker. So sometimes you need to have two or three layers of shadows just to distinct, to make distinction between, the lighter shadows and the stronger ones.
Yeah. So the final stage, which is adding the color, I mean, technically, I guess you're just getting the brushes right and you're creating kind of maybe masks and kind of regions so that it's not mixing up with different elements. Or are you just freehand painting on this?
So it depends. If your sketch is detailed in a way that the regions are clear, you can always drop a color into them. It's a much easier way is to make your ink layer as a reference, and then using other layers to drop colors into the regions that you want, each region with a different color. And sometimes if the shape was rough, and I guess if we open Procreate just a little bit later, I can show you how this can be done. But like I said, it depends on your initial sketch and the ink, the ink layer. And if they are drafted in a precision way, you can always get these regions to just automatically from dragging the color into them, right?
Right.
And
Okay.
then after that, you need actually, if you look at this, there's not only like for each color there's a layer. Actually, for each surface there's a layer. Just because the effects you add later on the class or whatever, you need to mask those effects on that class. So you cannot just have one layer for each color. You have to have at least maybe two or three layers for each color, because each surface need its own, effects. Like the class have effect, the metal panel, it has an effect, the sky has effect. So
Yeah.
each effect needs to be masked over the color. So then you have a lot of layers, and sometimes I end up with maybe 80 layers,
Whoa.
just because you need to add all these layers above each other until they give you this final product. So
Amazing.
also, like, another maybe advice, if you wanna be working with Procreate, I guess create a lot of layers, and you can always delete them later or merge them, but you cannot get your effect. Then you have to remake them or stuff like that if you don't have them in the first place. So always create layers for each surface, try to separate them, and then in the end, if you have too many of them, you can always combine some of them.
Amazing. Amazing. Wow.
Then after that, I turned
Bloody hell.
that day into night, just to try if I need to, if I'm gonna change the environment on one sketch, and it
This
was
is
like more of an
this is
experiment.
this is amazing.
Yeah, so
How do you because this is the same illustration.
it is the same illustration. So what I've done here is I have darkened all the colors, right? So change the color from day to night. And then I had to add the effect of each of these lights, and so you can say it's more layers upon layers
Yeah. How long did it
to do
take
the
you to,
effect.
to transform the day illustration to the night illustration?
I would say maybe 2 to 3 hours. I mean,
Whoa.
it's 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 not that hard once you know what you are doing, but the hard thing is to manage your layers, just because now you have something like this. So it's something you are showing what's inside the building. It's a suggestion of what inside the building, but it's really, you are showing just some of the details inside, and then you have to manage all these layers just to know what's above and what's behind. And I guess managing the layers is the most hard thing of doing that in this case. But other than that, once you know what you are doing, it's not that hard.
The thing here is like what's standing out to me is that obviously there's ways and there's tips and there's tricks, but there's nothing more strong than just experience in this case, because I'm
Yeah.
looking at, for example, the minor details that you've added, like even the way the stars are much more darker on the right side of the gradient and they start to fade away on the left, exactly how it would work in a real sky. I'm looking at the way the tubular lights inside the building are all following the perspective, but at the same time, you've got tubular lights showing through the same way they would in a building. I think people would overlook that detail where they think, actually, if I'm going to do a building at night, maybe I'll do glowing glass, but they don't think I'll do glowing glass with the glow of a tubular light within it. And that is,
Yeah. Yeah.
this is not stuff you can just kind of, I mean, it is now. People have the insight from hearing this. They can maybe, add that to their archive of knowledge. But you obviously have had a lot of experience in the field, and I imagine you've had a lot of experience. You must have had a lot of experience sketching and illustrating for many, many years now. That, even the glow of the lights on the pavement at the bottom, without that glow, the reflection on the pavement, I think this image wouldn't be as powerful, but you don't necessarily notice that as soon as you look at this.
Yeah. So it's like it's something that I guess you gain from experience. It's just because you feel that there's something always missing. If your eyes are trained, like I said before, you have to train your eyes to see these kind of stuff. So if I'm gonna make something that you have to feel that there's something inside or there's some kind of reflection here, just because if you don't see it, it's not realistic, and your eyes, everybody's eyes is they are practiced to see reflections, and like this is like something is very basic for a human eye. So if it's not there in the drawing, you can feel there's something wrong and there's something missing.
Yeah,
So adding these details is essential if you want to get something that is somehow realistic. It doesn't have to be realistic, it has to be it has to make sense, it has to be logical, if I'm gonna say.
incredible,
So
incredible,
yeah.
amazing. So, are there any other slides, or is this it for now? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm gonna just show some other examples. Like the same goes for this one. If you see here, there's so many layers of sketches
Wow.
just to get to the preliminary, rough sketch, and then from that to the final sketch. Uh, Same idea goes for this one. So sometimes I try to imagine first what I want from the building and maybe a perspective of it, even though this perspective didn't make it to the, like, I didn't do this perspective for the final image, but from from that I understood what I'm gonna do and where I'm heading. So sometimes you don't have to turn all your sketches into a final sketch. Just sometimes you have to sketch the building from different angles just to understand it and get the gist of it. And then maybe you just choose one and just focus on one and just sketch it.
That's amazing. That's an amazing tip as well, for people who want
Hmm.
to kind of think about how you generate those preliminary ideas. You don't
Yeah,
always have to have your final view in mind and your final kind of shot, your killer image. You can do it.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you can do it in the way Ehab just amazingly showed us, that it could be a diagram, it could be an axonometric drawing, which he showed, and then you start to translate that into your final killer image.
Yes, exactly. And I wanted to show also other ways to, if you are not that good maybe in sketching, but maybe you wanna do something that is more, sketch oriented. I prepared some of the slides here to show also other ways to, to use Procreate. So in this case, I made a sketch on paper. I liked it, so I took a photo of it and then drew over it. After that, I turned it to a final sketch. So this is one way you can do. You can always sketch with your hand first, take a picture of the sketch, then do it digitally. This is one way. Another way is I made a 3D model out of it and then sketch over it, and I can get this result, right? So there's not only one way to do it. There's a lot of way. You can always find your way. You can express your style, but you can always try and not give up, if I'm gonna say.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
amazing. Amazing. I love the kind of variety of things you're showing us. as well, because the insight I really wanted to get was as you've shown us, from looking at the preliminary drawings, we're starting to get loads of useful tips now.
Yeah. So also one other way is you can do sketch sections or sketch plans. I guess these kind of sketches are really easy to make once you know what you are doing, and they are very, very effective. And I've seen a lot of people interact a lot with these kind of sketches, which are, if you see, they are very, very basic, and there's nothing much really into them, but they are effective just because they really show the idea. They show your concept. It can show what you are thinking behind whatever you are doing, and this is something you can present for like a preliminary design to the client or to your teacher or to your professor or whatever, and it can even make it to your final presentation. I think. I mean, it's up to you, but there's a lot of ways you can use Procreate or any other
Yeah,
digital media.
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Actually, this might be a bit of a cheeky question, but I feel like since I've got you here, I might as well take advantage of it. If you go to my Instagram profile, I recently, because I said I was inspired by your drawings, I actually did a drawing kind of as a result of being inspired by your style. So this was a drawing I did because I was kind of inspired by you.
Mm-hmm. That's very nice.
Thank you. So the way I did this, and you didn't actually mention uh, this particular way, but I'm sure you've thought about it. But I just took a photograph and
Mm-hmm.
I traced much of it, which was actually the house at the bottom. That's
Mm-hmm.
just a photograph from my window. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing I love about tracing is that I'm able to add in details and take details out, so it becomes more unique. And then I
Mm-hmm.
drew this kind of a parasitic kind of a graft on top, which is a style I
Yeah, yeah,
love.
yeah, yeah.
So
That's a very cool way of using tracing methods. Yeah.
awesome. So like the thing is, I see this as like maybe one of your preliminary sketches because you have really refined lines, don't you?
Actually, I mean, it's you have to start somewhere. So at least starting, and I think you are doing a great job, and getting your idea across. So this is the main thing. It's okay if your sketch is rough or it's not refined, but the thing is, and just because you are getting your idea across, this is the main point of actually sketching, is just to present your idea. And as long as you are doing this, I think you are doing a great job. So starting with that point and getting your idea across, then you can start refining your sketches, and with practice I'm sure everybody can see like a great results. Just you need to put your mind into it and put some time into it. I would suggest, if you are interested in sketching, whether it was you or anybody's listening, I would think, at the beginning, if you put at least 1 to 2 hours a day for a few months, I think you will find a huge difference. With like, if I think if you start practicing now, and in a few months, just you redraw the same sketch you are doing this, like no, the same sketch, just redo it, and then you can see how much different your
Yeah,
your abilities are. So,
it's amazing.
oh yeah.
Amazing. I think uh, on that note as well, if you were to bring color into this drawing, what would be
Mhm.
your approach quickly?
So I think if I'm gonna bring color, I can. There's two ways. You can always first do the same sketch as it is, take it to Procreate, and then you can mask it surface by surface, and draw these surfaces, then color them, and maybe put a background into it, the clouds, the sky, and I guess you can get a very nice result out of it. Or you can just resketch over it all together. Then you can just drag the colors into, have a inked layer, and then you can drag the colors into them, and you will have a totally digital sketch. So there's two ways. You can keep your original and mask colors over them, or you can redraw it as a digital sketch, then fill these regions with colors and shades. Yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting. Thank you. So, I mean, those insights you just gave us were like I'm really, really grateful you took the time to go through those kind of preliminary sketches, because that's where I feel all the value and the lessons are.
Yeah.
And although what you present is really well refined kind of final drawings, I can tell you value the kind of iterative process a lot. And I
Yeah.
think the idea of taking, I mean, one of the most, I think, vital things you said that I've taken away is how you can, just have the idea. It doesn't have to be your final view. It can just be anything, and then you
Yep.
just start to slowly chip away and refine your lines.
Hmm.
um, if you were to give somebody, sort of maybe my position, or just kind of someone who's kind of earlier in their career or in their studies, if you were to give them some advice about how they can improve their drawing skills, their drawing styles, just somebody who wants to really develop themselves as a designer and as an architectural kind of illustrator,
Hmm.
what advice would you give them?
Uh, I would say sketching or whatever media you wanna improve yourself in, it's all about you know improving your knowledge. First, you have to improve your knowledge. You have to look at other stuff. You have to look to other people work. You have to look to make your research. Look at finished project. Look at hand drawing projects. Anything you can look at. It's all combined in your it's all at your experience. So you have first to experience architecture before you have to create architecture. So experience architecture first. Look at buildings. Look at whatever you want. Whatever inspires you. Try to find your passion in your design. So when you are doing something, try to do something that you like, and then you get suddenly you are getting better results, right? So like I like futuristic stuff, so sometimes I keep sketching these stuff just because I like them, and when I do that stuff, I actually have fun, even if I didn't get the result I'm looking for, but I'm just having fun because this is something I like. So find something you like, and focus into it, and you'll get good results. Then from stuff you like, try to find stuff that you don't know about, and try to expand your knowledge on these stuff. And like you know a lot of people think that maybe designing a skyscraper is harder than designing any other kind of form of a building, but if you look into it, it's as much hard as if you are designing a house. So it's the same idea. You are designing a plan here, you are designing a plan here, but in the skyscraper it's like one plan multiplied by 60. So it's the same, but you are putting your effort on a vertical view instead of just a horizontal view. But in the end, if you don't try new stuff, you will never get better, right? So always try to, even if you don't think you're gonna succeed at first, but if you don't try it, you'll never know. So
I love that.
like I had a session with some students from India, and they were like, it was like a presentation for an Indian architecture university, and they asked me like, why do you sketch these concepts if they are not going to be built, right? Like, what's the point? And I was like, okay, if you're gonna wait to the opportunity to come to you, if you're gonna wait until someone gives you a skyscraper to design, you will never do it, right? Because you don't have the experience. But if you keep trying new stuff, and even if they are not gonna be built, if you keep trying, thinking out of your comfort zone, if you keep trying, to explore new concepts, if you keep doing that, you reach a point that when an opportunity comes, you will find yourself an advantage to other people who didn't try that, just because you at least put your leg into it. You have some knowledge in the territory, but if you don't know anything about it, it's gonna hard to get the opportunity in the first place.
Definitely.
So yeah.
Amazing, amazing insights there. And
Mm.
as I said, I think we could go so deep into some of these topics. One of the things I love what you mentioned is about, like go and experience architecture first before you
Mm.
start getting worried about why you can't produce good architectural drawings or
Hmm.
designs. I think a lot of people say, oh, I'm having designer's block or I'm having architectural block or artistic block, but they don't actually take joy in just going and exploring and kind of opening up their eyes to design and, architectural kind of things that are going on outside of just their perhaps interests or
Hmm.
mind. Um, the Instagram thing is really interesting to me as well because I've been quite active on Instagram as well, and
Yeah, I've seen work.
I really admire, I admire people who are able to generate large followings, not in a superficial way, but because I know now the level of consistency, hard work, and quality required to get to that level.
Yeah, yeah. You always have to up your game. It's
Yeah,
like you
especially
always.
yeah, especially as a our niche is not easy. If we were
Yeah,
Instagram female models, maybe you do one post and suddenly you're viral, but um,
it's because it's not something for everyone, right? Because like if you are a cooking channel, everyone loves food, right? So everyone can relate to food, but not everyone can relate to architecture. So it's like you said, it's very niche. Yeah.
so quickly, two pieces of advice or tips on one, how do you get to that level of kind of consistency and I mean the answer might just be hard work, but let's get your insights on this. What's a good way to make sure you're on top of things as growing your Instagram? And two, what opportunities have actually come your way now that you've kind of established a really large following? Have you had any paid opportunities as a direct result of Instagram?
Uh, about your first question is if you want to stay consistent, you always have to think that what I'm gonna present to the people, does it add value? Like, is it something that is valuable to the people to see, and is it something that I think I'm happy with it? Like, I really sometimes if you can see me, I don't post anything for 1 week or 2 weeks just because I don't have anything that I'm happy with that I can present to people. So don't just do anything. Just put something that adds value. Have something that is interesting to other people to see, because if you look at from yourself on your behavior on Instagram, if something doesn't have value, you don't even waste your a second into it, right? Like it's something that you just scroll by. But if something that is interesting and adds value to yourself, then you stop and watch and see and maybe read and maybe open a link, right? So it starts like that. You have to put something that is interesting, that adds value, and that you think people can relate to. So this is the first for the first question. The second question, I guess I didn't have like a real monetary outcome out of it yet, but I think at least it happened some opportunity. Like I had the chance to publish some of my work on some big architectural websites, and also lately I had an interview with CNN Arabic for about one of my projects. So it's stuff like that that has opened doors for me for my other concepts that is not doesn't have to do anything with sketching. Maybe just you know stuff that I designed that I have designed previously and I presented on my page, and then it went viral or something like that, and it caught some eyes. Yeah.
But am I correct in saying that that side of things isn't your main interest, whether it brings monetary value or not? The main thing for you is you have a platform now where you can share kind of revolutionary ideas straight from your head, straight down
Hmm.
onto paper and into people's eyes.
Yeah, yeah. I think this is the most rewarding outcome of it. Like you know that there's people who are interesting in what you think and what you do, and that's very it's a humbling feeling that there's some people who are interesting in whatever you are doing, and sometimes I think why they are interested, but I guess it's up to them. It's not up to me. I just keep do what I think is interests me and what I think make me happy. I just do what I'm passionate about, and if other people find it good, it's great.
Well, I'm definitely one of those people, and I'll just
Thank
say
you.
again, I love your work. I love the quality and consistency, and
I can say the same about your work also. It's very interesting.
no, you're
It's
you're a bit of a Instagram role model for me. So thanks so much for
thanks.
taking this time to talk with me. Um,
Of course.
and hopefully the people watching and listening will have got some really useful insights. And so let people know quickly where they can find your work and maybe what's going on for you at the moment.
Yeah, so you can always find my latest work on Instagram at Archihab, Archihab, and I always post my latest work there. If someone wanna send me an email or DM me, you're always welcome to do that. I try to respond to everyone as much as I can. Sometimes I I cannot respond to everyone, but I always respond in the end. So if there's any always anyone who wants to ask me a question or want to know something that I can, do it fast in a fast way, not just ask me to design your building. I'm not gonna do that. So, but yeah, I mean, if there's a legitimate questions in everyone mind, so you can always ask me there. And I guess this is my only platform at the moment. I'm planning to make a YouTube channel soon and maybe make some tutorials and some inside looks and stuff like that. But at the moment, it's something that I need to put a lot of time and effort into it, and I don't have that much time. But hopefully, I can do that soon.
I think that'd be an amazing idea. And just closing off now, but just to say, I think TikTok, I've been learning a lot about TikTok, that even if you do like a hyperlapse drawing, I mean, your drawings, if you did them, even your exported GIFs, if you put
Mhm.
those on TikTok, oh man, you would go viral. And therefore, you're leveraging the work you're already doing. You're not doing any more
Yeah.
work. But yeah, we could talk loads more about social media, Instagram, maybe another time.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ehab, and
Thank you.
hopefully speak to you soon.
Thank you. You too. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you.